Have you ever wondered why some older adults prefer to live alone, not because they're lonely, but because it's the happiest choice for them? In a fast-paced world, where connection is measured by how often the phone rings or messages pop up, choosing to live alone is sometimes misunderstood as isolation. But for many people, especially as they age, quietness is not an emptiness. It's a space to return to oneself. Grace, 74, lives in Portland. She no longer rushes to meetings or takes care of grandchildren every day. In the morning, she brews a cup of chamomile tea, opens the window to let the breeze in, and rereads her favorite book. No pressure, no packed schedule, just her and the little world she cherishes. Unfortunately, not everyone views this lifestyle in a positive light. Many still fear silence, assuming that living alone means loneliness and detachment. But what's more dangerous is living in noise while the soul has nowhere to rest. This podcast will help you discover 9 remarkable qualities of older adults who enjoy solitude, those quietly inspiring others to live deeply, truthfully, and fully. You'll see that they are not lonely at all. They are shining examples of gratitude, independence, and peace. If you are searching for stillness in a world full of noise, this is something you shouldn't miss. And if you see a reflection of a loved one, your parents, grandparents, or perhaps your future self, consider sharing this episode as a heartfelt gift. Are you ready to step into the subtle, profound world of quiet yet soulful lives? In a society that values busyness and constant connection, older adults who choose to live alone are often misunderstood as being lonely. But the truth is, they are living with great mindfulness, with a level of self-awareness that not everyone achieves. They don't seek the spotlight, nor do they need an audience. Instead, they turn inward, to the place where they have spent years listening, observing, and deeply understanding themselves. Have you ever wondered, what allows someone to live peacefully with themselves for so many years, without feeling lost, without needing others to fill the space? The answer lies in the power of self-reflection, a quiet yet powerful process. These individuals have gone through many stages in life: success and failure, love and loss. They've learned how to have conversations with themselves, to recognize their emotions, to understand their values, and they don't need anyone else to validate that. In a culture where personal worth is often measured by achievements and external recognition, knowing who you are, what you need, and feeling whole with that is truly a rare ability. Deep self-awareness allows them to walk steadily without being swept into the whirlpool of comparison, expectations, or social pressure. They can sit alone for hours without feeling bored, because within them is an entire world, moving, understanding, and at peace. And that is what creates a quiet confidence. They don't need to constantly post on social media to feel seen. They don't need to win arguments to prove they're right. They are present in a silent but grounded way. They live true to their nature, without bending to fit into any societal mold. If you're feeling exhausted by shallow, fleeting connections, try spending time alone each day. Turn off your phone, close your laptop, just you and your truest thoughts. Write a few lines in a journal, meditate with your eyes closed for 10 minutes, or simply breathe and ask yourself, how am I feeling? What do I truly need right now? Over time, you'll realize that the voice within you is not only alive, but also guiding you. Self-awareness isn't a gift reserved for a select few. It's a skill anyone can develop, as long as you're willing to step away from the noise. When you truly understand yourself, you no longer need the world to define who you are. And that is the greatest freedom a person can reach. From that freedom, another powerful quality begins to emerge: the capacity for an astonishing level of independence. Once you understand who you are and what truly matters to you, the next step is a surprisingly powerful way of living: independence. Older adults who embrace solitude don't wait for others to help them or save them. They tend to solve problems on their own, make their own plans, and face challenges calmly, as if it's the natural rhythm of life. Have you ever thought that growing old means becoming more dependent on others? That's a common stereotype, but reality is changing. More and more seniors are choosing to live alone, not because they lack family, but because they value autonomy, from meals and sleep schedules to life-changing decisions. They've learned to trust themselves, manage their emotions, and most importantly, not rely on others to do it for them. This independence isn't just about finances or health. It's about mental and emotional autonomy. They know that every challenge is a chance to grow. When the washing machine breaks, they find a way to fix it. When they need to travel, they call a service or even drive themselves. When something hurts them, they don't complain. They heal from within. This sense of initiative over time builds a quiet but enduring strength, a strength that doesn't boast, but is always there when needed. Because of this, they adapt quickly to change, whether it's moving homes, losing a loved one, or adjusting to a new environment. They don't collapse. Instead, they rebuild their lives in their own way. Independence keeps them from being stuck in an old version of themselves. They can start learning a new skill, travel solo, or join community activities, all because they believe, "I can do this." If you want to build this kind of independence, start small. Plan your own weekend. Fix something around the house. Cook a new recipe by yourself. Give yourself permission to try, and sometimes to fail, so you can discover how strong you truly are. Independence doesn't come from never needing anyone. It comes from knowing you can stand up on your own when needed, and then you'll see. The feeling of accomplishing something on your own, even something small, brings a very special kind of joy. It doesn't come from recognition, but from quiet pride. You don't need applause for those things, because you are your own best audience in this life. From this foundation of independence, a special space begins to open, where creativity is no longer limited by expectation or barrier. And in that space, those who live alone often become the silent artists of their own lives. Independence not only makes a person stronger, it also opens a special door where creativity can flourish naturally. Older adults who enjoy living alone don't live to kill time. They live to enrich their days through creative pursuits, whether it's painting, writing, gardening, or decorating their living space in their own unique way. Have you ever noticed that the moments when you're alone are often your most creative? When you're no longer distracted by ringing phones, noisy conversations, or the pressure to fit in with someone else, you return to your most authentic self. A place where inspiration can arise from a morning cup of tea, a tree outside the window, or soft music playing from an old radio. Older individuals who choose solitude often don't need anyone to teach them how to be creative. They let time lead the way. No rush, no pressure. A painting may take a week to complete, but that week is filled with stillness, with each brushstroke carrying emotions and memories. A piece of writing might be just a few lines in a notebook, but it distills thoughts that have quietly lived in them for decades. The beauty of it is, they don't create to impress. They create for themselves. No deadlines, no clients, no scores, just the pure joy of seeing a flower bloom from their care, or the quiet satisfaction of finishing a piece of a long unfinished puzzle. This is creativity without a goal, yet it holds immense value for the one who creates it. If you're looking to rekindle your zest for life, try setting aside a few hours each week for a creative activity. Anything that brings you ease. Sketching a few random lines, writing in a journal, planting a small pot, or rearranging your workspace. You don't have to be skilled. You just need to be curious and patient. Creativity doesn't require you to be an artist. It only asks that you show up fully and be ready to play with ideas. Once you've touched that kind of joy, you won't want to trade it for any kind of noise. Because in those quiet moments of making something with your own hands, you feel alive in a way that is deeply personal and profoundly real. And through that creativity, their inner world becomes ever richer, a colorful inner landscape waiting to be discovered through deep and patient listening. One of the most striking traits of those who enjoy living alone is their remarkably rich inner world. While many people stay busy with small talk and social chatter, these individuals spend much of their time in conversation with themselves, and that is precisely what gives their thoughts, feelings, and worldview such extraordinary depth. Have you ever met someone who, with just a few words, made you feel as if an entirely new horizon had opened up before you? They don't speak much. They don't overwhelm others with their opinions, but every word they say feels distilled, refined through thousands of hours of quiet reflection. They understand what's worth saying and what is better preserved as a precious silence. This inner richness doesn't come from how many books one has read, but from the depth of contemplation given to each page. Not everyone who lives alone has a rich inner life, but those who cherish stillness often develop the habit of examining everything with clarity and intention. They observe, take note, and reflect not only on the world around them, but also on the subtle movements within. In a world where everything moves fast and demands urgency, making time for deep thought is rare. Yet those older adults who embrace quietness do this daily as part of their way of life. They can sit by the window for hours, doing nothing outwardly, while their mind journeys through streams of reflection on people, on time, on what's been lost, and what remains. They see a rainstorm not merely as weather, but as memory, as cleansing, as an invitation for the soul to settle. If you ever feel like you're living too fast, speaking too much, but understanding too little, try slowing down. Each evening before bed, instead of reaching for your phone, close your eyes and ask, "What did I learn today? Am I living in alignment with what I truly believe?" These simple questions, asked consistently, will lead you inward, to the place where all the answers you're searching for externally already reside. And you'll find that the richness of your thoughts makes you a truly engaging companion. You don't need to say much. Just listen, share thoughtfully, and allow others to feel touched by a deeper layer of presence. From there, genuine connection becomes easier, because you're no longer seeking surface-level interaction, but a meeting of two inner worlds that are already whole. And that creates conversations that are truly memorable. And because they've grown so accustomed to that depth, they also come to master another important skill: the ability to process their emotions with calm, especially during the most painful moments. On the journey of living alone, pain is inevitable. Loss, disappointment, or sudden waves of emotion. But what makes older adults who choose solitude truly special is not that they don't feel pain, but the way they move through it, with calm and quiet strength. Have you ever witnessed someone go through a major life upheaval, yet remain remarkably grounded? They don't scream. They don't blame. They don't rush toward distraction. Instead, they step back, allowing themselves to fully feel their emotions without letting those emotions sweep them away. They don't avoid their pain. They embrace it, and in doing so, they move beyond it. This emotional resilience isn't something that appears overnight. It's the result of years spent observing, learning to regulate their inner responses rather than trying to control the outside world. When they lose someone they love, they don't run from the sadness. They walk into nature, letting the trees, the light, and time itself soothe the emptiness. When disappointed by unmet expectations, they write their feelings down instead of bottling them up. They know that every emotion, no matter how intense, will eventually settle, as long as they don't keep feeding the fire. In a modern world where people are constantly urged to be strong, move on, and keep going, slowing down to accept and process emotions is rare. But those who live alone often have both the space and the stillness to do just that. No need to pretend to be okay, no need to force a smile. They let emotions come and go, like the rain and sun, arriving, then passing. You too can cultivate this kind of emotional resilience. Start by acknowledging your feelings without judgment. When you feel angry, sad, or anxious, try writing down your thoughts or speaking with someone you trust. Most importantly, don't ignore your emotions. Stay with them a while, like you would sit with a friend in need. Because sometimes, what you need most isn't a solution, but your own presence. A person who processes emotions deeply is less likely to be swept away by the chaos around them. They're not easily pulled into meaningless arguments. They don't let a bad day ruin an entire week. They live from a place of emotional centeredness, where storms may strike, but the foundation remains steady. And through that stability, they learn to appreciate the simple, quiet gifts of life, like the morning sun, the scent of coffee, or the sound of wind rustling through the window. After going through enough life's upheavals, spending enough time with oneself, and learning to stand firm through pain, a person often develops a precious ability, gratitude and contentment with the simplest things. For older adults who prefer to live alone, this is especially evident. They don't need luxurious trips or lively parties to feel full inside. Have you ever noticed how the smallest things can bring the truest joy? A warm cup of tea in the early morning, sunlight slanting through a window, birds are chirping in a quiet garden. To many, these are just background details, but to those who know how to live slowly and deeply, they are gifts. They don't need anything more to find meaning, because simplicity itself is enough. In modern culture, where consumerism and a fast-paced lifestyle can numb us to the present, maintaining a practice of gratitude is no easy feat. Yet those who have lived alone for years often have a rare ability. They pause to acknowledge what they already have, without comparison, without constant longing. It's not resignation, it's wisdom, a deep understanding that happiness doesn't come from what's new, but from how we see what's already here. They often start their day with simple rituals, a glass of warm water, a few minutes of meditation, or simply watching the sunrise from their balcony. And at day's end, they jot down a few things that made them smile. A call from a loved one, a delicious meal, or just a day without rain. This habit not only nurtures a sense of sufficiency, but also strengthens mental well-being, reduces anxiety, and makes the heart gentler toward itself. If life feels too rushed for you right now, Try slowing down. Each evening, write down 3 things you're grateful for, even the smallest ones. Teach your heart to recognize what is present, instead of chasing what has yet to arrive, and you'll discover that contentment isn't about giving up dreams, but about living fully in each moment as it comes. Once you've cultivated that sense of gratitude, life begins to feel lighter. Things don't need to be perfect for you to feel complete, and this fullness from within gives you a quiet strength, not because you have everything, but because you cherish everything you already have. And from that deep understanding, another beautiful quality silently begins to form: compassion and empathy, not only for others, but also for yourself. When a person spends enough time understanding themselves, they gradually open their heart to understand others deeply and without judgment. Older adults who live alone don't just develop emotional resilience, they also carry an extraordinary capacity for compassion and empathy. They don't preach. They don't try to fix others. They listen with their whole heart. Have you ever met someone who made you feel safe when you opened up, not because they gave advice or solutions, but because you knew they were truly listening? They didn't interrupt. They didn't jump to conclusions. They looked at you with eyes that had known sorrow, and so they understood your pain without needing an explanation. The empathy of those who cherish solitude comes from having learned to sit quietly with themselves, even in sadness. They don't avoid emotions, so when others are sad, they don't get uncomfortable. When others are angry, they don't react. They observe. They understand that every emotion has its reason, and that what a hurting person needs most isn't advice, but sincere presence. In today's fast-paced world, where speed and efficiency often take priority, compassion can sometimes be overlooked. But the slower rhythm of solitary living allows these individuals to develop a deep capacity for empathy. They help others not because they want to be praised, but because they feel the pain of others as their own. They visit elderly neighbors, write handwritten letters to family, or simply sit with someone in the hospital without needing to say a word. You too can cultivate compassion by practicing deep listening every day. When someone confides in you, release the urge to respond right away. Instead, try saying, "I can see how hard that must feel." And most importantly, learn to show empathy toward yourself. Don't blame yourself for feeling weak. Don't pressure yourself to be okay immediately. Compassion doesn't require grand gestures. It only asks that you be present, truly present, for someone who needs you. And sometimes that presence is more healing than any advice. And when you live with compassion, you'll also realize that your peace deserves to be protected, with clear boundaries that are kind but firm. On the journey of living alone, one of the most valuable lessons many older adults learn, sometimes at the cost of exhaustion, is the importance of setting personal boundaries. They understand that to protect their inner peace, sometimes they must learn to say no, not out of selfishness, but because they know their limits. Have you ever felt drained simply because you couldn't say no? A social event you didn't want to attend, a request that came at the wrong time, or a phone call that stole away your quiet evening. Many people, afraid of disappointing others, sacrifice their own comfort. But those who have lived long and deeply come to realize love does not mean unconditional sacrifice, and kindness does not mean constant availability. Clear boundaries are not rooted in rigidity, but in an understanding of one's inner needs. People who enjoy solitude often know exactly what disrupts their balance, and they learn to protect that space with both gentleness and firmness. They avoid tense conversations, They don't maintain relationships out of duty rather than connection. They preserve a safe zone, a space where they can recharge and return to themselves after each interaction with the world. In modern culture, where enthusiasm and availability are often praised, saying, "I can't join today," or "I need time for myself," may be misunderstood. But emotionally mature individuals no longer feel the need to over-explain. They know this truth. If you don't protect your boundaries, no one else will do it for you. You can begin setting boundaries in small ways. Designate a certain time each day to turn off your phone and stop replying to messages. Place a note on your mirror that says, "Saying no is also a form of self-love." And if someone doesn't understand that, perhaps they've never learned what healthy love looks like. Clear boundaries help you live with more ease. You no longer feel pulled into things you don't truly want to do. You gain more time for what you love, for rest, and for meaningful connections. You're not living to please everyone. You're living in alignment with your truth. And from that place of safety, they gain the clarity and energy to invest in relationships that matter. Not many, but deep enough to truly nourish the soul. When a person has learned to live alone, fully, without loneliness or haste, they begin to see relationships through a different lens, no longer as something to fill a void, but as something precious, to be nurtured with respect and mindfulness. Older adults who live alone may not have many friends, but the ones they do have are true friends. Have you ever wondered why some people feel fulfilled with just a few close relationships, while others, constantly surrounded by social activity, still feel empty? The answer lies in quality. Those who are comfortable being alone don't need a crowd to validate themselves. They don't maintain relationships out of obligation, but out of a genuine desire to connect. They listen deeply, remember small details, and show up when needed, not with fanfare, but with sincerity. They know that time is limited, and so is their energy. That's why they choose to invest in relationships that offer mutual empathy, respect, and nourishment. They may not call every day, but when they meet, the conversation is always rich, honest, and deeply connected. They don't need to be liked. They don't need compliments. They only need to know that the other person is living truthfully, just like they are. This is especially important in today's culture, where the pace of life makes it easy to settle for surface-level relationships and lose sight of real connection. Older adults who enjoy solitude serve as a quiet reminder. Every relationship deserves to be honored with time, presence, and kindness. They don't reach out to others to fill a void because they are already full within. And that's why, when they give love, it's not demanding or conditional. It's simply an act of generosity. If you feel your relationships have begun to fade, try pausing and looking closer. Who makes you feel lighter when you're around them? Who can you sit in silence with and still feel connected? Invest in those relationships. One meaningful coffee date is worth more than a stream of daily messages. A quiet walk together may nurture a bond more deeply than a crowded gathering ever could. When you've learned how to live alone, you also learn how to choose and cherish the relationships that matter. And when you do that, you not only live more joyfully, you become the kind of person who brings healing just by being present. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this journey. The fact that you're still here, listening all the way through, shows that you're truly serious about understanding yourself more deeply, or perhaps understanding someone in your life who has chosen to live alone in peace. Together, we've explored 9 beautiful qualities of older adults who enjoy solitude. from deep self-awareness, independence, and creativity to inner richness, emotional resilience, gratitude, compassion, healthy boundaries, and finally, the way they cherish meaningful relationships. None of these qualities are innate. They are the result of living long enough, deeply enough, and authentically enough. And you, regardless of your age or circumstances, can begin this journey too. You can choose to live more mindfully, to slow down, and to cultivate these qualities through small moments in your everyday life. I would love to know, among these 9 qualities, which one do you feel most connected to? Or which one do you hope to strengthen in the next chapter of your life? Please share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to listen, and together we can continue this heartfelt conversation. If you found value or inspiration in this message, consider sharing it with someone, a loved one, a friend, who might be in need of a gentle, deeper perspective on what it means to live alone. And if you're drawn to content about healing, emotional growth, and mindful living, don't forget to follow for upcoming episodes. A meaningful life has never truly been a solo journey. We can walk it together in awareness and authentic connection. It's never too late to live more deeply, more gently, and to feel full from within.